Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell. You'll get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And when I'm not asking Bruce, hey, how big was Batista's? Well, you know. One of the things I like to do is help people save money. And if you're watching this video right now and you're in a 30-year loan, man, you're overpaying your single biggest bill and you may not even realize it. I want you to do a little experiment for me. Take your calculator out, multiply your monthly house payment by 360 payments. That's how many payments there are on a 30-year loan. That big scary number, that's your total of payments. You're looking at that number? You know you can do better. Keep more of your own money right now and go to savewithconrad.com. Or maybe you've got credit card debt. Man, it's not a matter of if I can save you money with that. Your average interest rate on a credit card is more than 20%. And by the way, all the interest you pay on those credit cards, it's not tax deductible. Whereas the mortgage interest, well, that is tax deductible. So if you owe this debt, it's up to you how to pay it back. Doesn't it make sense to get the cheapest rate possible and the greatest tax deduction possible? Find out how much money you can save right now for free at savewithconrad.com. You don't need perfect credit. Even scores in the 500s can be approved, and it's no cost out of pocket. But maybe best of all, we're licensed in more than 40 states. We can help more families than ever before. But how much can we save you? Find out right now for free with a quick quote from savewithconrad.com. Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to What Happened When? With the voice of your childhood, Tony Schiavone. Tony, what's going on, man? How are you?
Hey, Conrad, how are you, buddy?
Man, better than I deserve. Happier than a puppy with two Peters. Boy, we are on the heels of arguably the biggest AEW show ever. And it feels like we say that every few weeks lately. But boy, how exciting it must have been for you. You guys made your New York City debut, as far as I know, the first time we've ever seen wrestling in Flushing, New York at the Arthur Ashe Stadium. And man, the first match on the show was like a dream match that a lot of people thought would never happen. The American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, and the AEW World Champion, Kenny Omega, a 30-minute time limit draw. Boy, that's old school shit, and I loved it.
I'm glad you did. I know when the bell rang and we had the time limit draw, a lot of the fans booed.
Oh, that's bullshit. Listen.
Yeah, I know. It's bullshit.
I loved it. And you know what I liked best about it, Tony, is I kind of figured before the bell rang, I had a little viewing party here at the house, and I said, hey, what do you think's the finish? And everybody had their opinion. Here's a great story. When I went to Silva, I went to him first, right? Because Silva's my right-hand man here. So I said, hey, Silva, what do you think's the finish? And he thought for a minute, and he says, you know, I've always really liked the belly to back. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, I think my finisher would be the belly to back. I'm like, what the fuck, Dave? I don't mean if you were a goddamn wrestler. You're 49 years old. You're never going to be a wrestler. I mean, the match we're watching right now that you came over to my house for, what do you think the finish is going to be? I think it's going to be a schmoz with the Elite. And so anyway, Clint from Hershey said, I think it's going to be a time limit draw. I said, me too. And he said, what do you think? And he said, I think we'll have Daniel Bryan pull a submission, the bell rings, and then Kenny Omega starts tapping. And I was like, I hope they don't do that. And then they didn't. It's a time limit draw, and they're both just standing, trading blows. It wasn't one of these old contrived wrestling finishes. I thought it was cool. And what a way to start the show. But I want to know from your experience, what was it like? Arthur Ashe Stadium, AEW's NYC debut. Tell us about it.
It was amazing. It was really amazing. We came out first. And the announcers for Elevation of this week on this Monday, which, by the way, is already aired by the time this drops.
Yeah.
Were me, Eddie Kingston, and Mark Henry, because Paul White had a match in Elevation. Eddie Kingston literally was overwhelmed with emotion when he sat down. He was overwhelmed with emotion all night. It was just an emotional night for him. It was an emotional night for all the kids on our roster who had worked in the independents in the New York area. And there's a lot of those. Members of the Dark Order, John Silver, Alex Reynolds, obviously for Santana and Ortiz, who worked on Friday, who worked on the Rampage show for Private Party. So it was just a very emotional night. And I remember thinking, as I'm sitting down looking around, I'm thinking, Jesus, it's not been 3 years yet. It hadn't. It'll be 3 years actually coming up this week or this weekend, October 2nd, will be our 3rd anniversary. And, or is our second, 19, 20, 21. Second anniversary, right? Third.
Yeah. It started, your company started January 1st, 2019.
So it'll be, our 3rd year will start. Yeah. And I thought, wow, look how far we've come in a short period of time. But I also thought that the impact that wrestling has on fans, and obviously it's quite a sport, but it's also just a wonderful outlet. And I just I've said to you many times, I fell in love with the sport over again, which I did, and that night just solidified to me that I had made a good decision by coming back. And the people that I work with, we have so many great people behind the scenes. I'm not going to make this sound like an Oscar acceptance speech, but we have so many people behind the scenes, names that you don't hear, that really work hard to put this together. And I was just proud for them as much as I was for all of us that are in front of the camera. Eddie was really emotional. He looked to me and he had tears in his eyes. And then when Tony Khan came out and addressed the audience right before we started Dynamite, he was emotional as well. And it made you feel proud of the work that you had done. It was pretty fucking, I'm sure you've seen the shots from up above, the shots on social media.
Oh yeah, it's unbelievable.
It is.
Raphael Morphy took one from the very top of the arena and posted it, and
yeah,
dude, it's unbelievable.
I know, and I didn't know what to expect, but I didn't. We had heard go have a big crowd, we have 15,000 sold. We have 17,000 sold, and I guess the final number was 20,177 or something thereabouts. I didn't know what to expect, but I didn't expect that. I mean, when we walked out, we walked up the rampway or up the stairs to go to our broadcast position. There were people screaming behind us, and we turned around, and they had sold seats up above the staging area, the entrance, but behind us. And I'm thinking, holy shit! You never see that in any of our events,
right?
So it was good, and I know there are some people out there that say, "Oh, look what they did in the WWE's backyard." Ha ha ha! I don't look at it that way.
No,
I don't look at us against them type thing. And I don't. So I just thought it was a very proud moment for all of us. So, and then I got to see, as you saw on the show on Friday, I got to see Homicide for the first time.
Oh, what a great guy he is. What'd you think?
I loved him because that's all Eddie talks about. I mean, that's Eddie's man. And I hope we see him more. Just good guy. So, and Eddie after the show was like, really after the show, Eddie Kingston was again very emotional, and actually he was crying because of, if you think about, his journey.
Oh, it's unbelievable. His story is unlike most in wrestling, and without AEW, I don't think that opportunity would have been afforded to him. You talk about the right place, right time. It's unbelievable. But by the way, I know a lot of our listeners are probably not AEW viewers on the reg, and they're just here for Jim Crockett Promotions. We'll get there.
Yeah.
Let me say, if you're an old school Jim Crockett fan, you would love you some Eddie Kingston, because he could wrestle, but he's a promo and a half.
Yeah.
And I wish every wrestling show I ever watched, forever and ever, amen, included an Eddie Kingston promo. I'd be fine with it. I know he's not on WWE. Hell, just slide something in there. I'll watch it. I'm in.
The finish of the match on Rampage was the end of the night for us.
Yeah.
And when you see Eddie Kingston with that kendo stick, going crazy. That was Eddie letting off emotion about the night.
Yeah.
So that to me was just a great way to end the entire night that we had. The fans hung with us. I thought, man, we got basically 4 hours TV we're going to put in front of them. It was a little bit less than 4 hours, obviously, but of wrestling. But I don't know. I first thing I think about when I see that crowd, I think about the kids who worked on the Independence in New York City, in the New York area, and what they, I mean, I'm sure they're going to places like, and I've been to I think the Warriors of Wrestling in Staten Island, and I'm familiar with some of the other places, not as much as some other people, but I am. And I think about the kids who worked hard to get where they are, and now they walk out and see that, and they all think, we're in the fucking big time. John Silver and Alex Reynolds were like, it was like, oh my God. They even, there was even a point to where guys walked out early in the day and looked around at the seats and were going like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Look at the place we're working, right?
Yeah.
And there was a part of me that, because I'm a curmudgeon, that went, holy shit, this big arena for a fucking tennis match? What the fuck? Because tennis fucking sucks. And this arena's pretty big. So it was great. And I don't think AEW is not going to be able to regularly do things like this. But AEW is going to be able now to go places, and we've done that since the pandemic. We've put a lot of people in the arenas. So, and we're kind of running through the Northeast as well. Rochester coming up, and as with this drops tonight, Rochester will be tonight in New York, and then we go to Philadelphia. We're going to be in Boston very soon. So, yeah, hey, life's good, buddy.
Did you see that there was a little controversy about the show?
I'm sure.
A pretty prominent female fan. I don't know if she's enjoying the controversy, so I won't necessarily say her handle, but she tweeted that there was a lot of funk in the building. I don't mean like the George Clinton style. I mean like the BO style. She was complaining that AEW fans, or wrestling fans, were smelly.
Really?
And to the point where she got a headache because they stank so bad. That's real.
That is real?
That's real. I'll send you a link, but again, I think a lot of people have been coming for her, so I don't want to give a handle or anything, but she follows me and I follow her, and she seems like a nice person, but yeah, she was just pretty vocal about, boy, it's stank in there.
Well, there you go.
And I wanted to ask, is smoking allowed in Arthur Ashe Stadium?
No, I wouldn't think so.
Oh,
You talking about cigarettes or
well, yeah, nicotine.
Yeah, nicotine. Okay, I wouldn't think so. No.
I wonder if that's because those folks in New York, they're ahead of the game. They know about Lucy nicotine. Tell me about the main event. You've been there for a ton of major moments in wrestling history, a ton of great matches. I mean, you used to lie to us on a weekly basis as a kid, and I think everyone here knows that. This is the greatest night in the history of our sport, and you don't say that now, and we're thankful for that. But boy, you could have maybe on that one, because it was arguably the greatest night for a modern wrestling fan in recent memory, because, we often talk about how a lot of the quote unquote bowies in the back think WrestleMania 18's Rock Hogan match is the greatest wrestling match of all time. I know Cody believes that, and a lot of other guys, but Cody's been out front about saying it in interviews. And it's not necessarily the Phoenix Splash that Hulk Hogan busted out. And it's not necessarily how many V triggers old Rock hit. It was more about the reaction from the crowd. And that those guys went nose to nose, and before they even touched, they look left and they look right, and they're just milking the crowd. And in their own way, they were able to do this with Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega. It was special. And by the way, to me as a wrestling fan, that 30 minutes flew by. I think it might be the fastest 30-minute match I've ever seen. but you were there live. Where does it rank all time for you?
Well, that's a good question because I haven't thought of that until you asked me that. Where does this match rank as far as great matches that I've seen as a fan and or great matches that I've called?
I don't mean as a fan, like when you watched at home. Like I know when we talk about great matches, a lot of times people will say, "Oh, what about Flair Steamboat '89?" You weren't there. You were in the WWF, so you weren't there to see it. But as
Right.
far as just actual great, holy shit, what a wrestling match that you were there. And don't compare it to other AEW matches. I'm looking for historical. I realized that you were ringside as a fan to see Dustin and Cody at the first AEW show.
Right.
And what a special match that was.
Yes.
And I think you got to see Nick Jackson and Ray Phoenix. And you got to see that street fight with Proud and Powerful before. There's been some really great AEW matches.
Yeah.
But I mean, in terms of history. So you go back to the NWA, you go back to the WWF, you go back to WCW. Does any stand out like that one might in the future?
I think Goldberg and Hogan stands out because it wasn't as good as match as this one, technically, obviously.
But from a historical, I'm talking about the fight. We're on the same page. I don't mean like who had better holds.
Right.
But, you know, as far as just the crowd, like, holy shit, this is special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one. There was another moment when, and it's odd that it's going to be, it happened in 1986, the year that we're talking about, when Nikita turned babyface.
Okay.
In the Charlotte Coliseum with Dusty Rhodes in the cage. Because Nikita, and I've seen the footage since then, walked towards the cage and went and walked in the cage and kind of like, you know, looked around and then helped Dusty. And once Nikita helped Dusty and turned babyface, the crowd that night was amazing. I remember Jim Crockett saying to a bunch of us, he turned around and he said, man, he said, when that happened, I kind of had tears in my eyes. Now, I know we were all emotional because of what happened to Magnum, but it was just it was a good moment. So I remember that one as special moments that stick out. I talked to Tony TK afterwards, and I said, you know, a lot of the events that I've done throughout my career are kind of just blend together.
Yeah.
For example, Lex Luger beating Hulk Hogan for the WCW championship.
Right? Nitro 100, August of 97.
Didn't remember it. Did not remember it. I'm not shitting on Luger here or Hogan. I'm not shitting on the participants, but I just didn't remember it. You and I covered that show, and I remember going into it thinking, I have no recollection of Luger winning the title. And then when I look back, it was a good night. It was a great night. But this is, to me, ranks with Hogan Goldberg and that Nikita thing. Yeah, it was, and I think it for many reasons, obviously. But I think we know how special Kenny is as a worker in the ring, and what he can do, the things he puts his body through. But Bryan Danielson's he's another another level, isn't he?
I think he's been the best wrestler in the world for at least 17 years. Perhaps my favorite ever to just sit down and watch a match.
Yeah.
I don't mean in terms of favorite wrestling personality or favorite wrestling promo, but a lot of times we talk about guys who do have a big personality and they have a big promo, and you know, you're into their character. And then, as Bruce likes to say, and then the bell rang. Nobody was ever disappointed in a Bryan Danielson match.
No. When he was hired and before I met him, TK told me, he said, you're going to love him because not only can he work, as we all know, he said, when you get to know him, you'll realize what a great mind he has for this business. And he's right. He's exactly right. After the match, or after the night was over, I went back and saw Bryan and talked to him a little bit. First of all, ask him how he felt.
Sure.
And because, you know, you could see his chest
and his head. He was beat up.
Yes, he was. He said, you know what? He said, I feel great. I'm still pumped up. He said, after I sat down for a little bit and then I got back up, I was a little bit sore, but I feel great. and I told him, and I thanked, which is when I do this a lot. I thank the guys for, and I'm sincere when I go tell them this. I thank guys for putting themselves through a lot of pain and agony to give us a good show. I think it's important that you do that. I've always thought it was important to do that because I just sit up there. I just, I help the show, but I just sit my fat ass on a chair and talk.
Yeah,
They're
hurting.
Yes, exactly. They go out and do those freaking bumps and do this crazy shit to give us a good show. So I thanked him for that. And we kind of texted back and forth the very next day. I am of all the guys that we have brought in, they're yeah, I think about how great a guy Brody Lee was and how wonderful it was to have him here. But Bryan Danielson is, if you're talking about major league trades,
it would be like getting Reggie Jackson in his prime.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And as the match is going on, I'm thinking, and again, this is not a dig at the WWE. I'm thinking, how the fuck did they let him go? How?
I don't think they had a chance to keep him. I don't think, I don't think there was an amount of money, and I'm not saying that to be funny. I don't think there was an amount of money they could have offered him. Like Brian, my understanding is Bryan Danielson loves wrestling in a way we can't describe.
Yeah.
And on some level, he's not been the guy who's, been living big. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't have an interest in being a Lamborghini collector. This is a guy who once upon a time was big on composting. This is a guy who wants to live on the land. This is so he only needs a certain amount of money and he's kind of set for life. Yeah. And that's not to say that I'm sure he came cheap. I'm sure he did not.
Right.
I'm sure he got fair market value and then some. But the point is, I think he just has certain things he wants to do. And he's getting to, wrestling was taken away from him once before. And now he's back, and I'm sure more of that story will be back and how he was able to comfortably and safely do that and return, because I do think that's a fascinating story, and I'm privy to a few details that I think are just really cool, and hopefully other people will follow suit. But the point is, when you love something and then you lose it, and then there's an opportunity for it to come back. Like, it wouldn't surprise me to see him, want to do stuff. Like, if I'm him, I want to wrestle Kenny Omega in AEW, and I want to wrestle Okada in New Japan, and I want to wrestle Psycho Clown in Mexico. And I think that's the type of guy he is. Like, hey, I realize I have a finite amount of time to do this, and I want to have the best matches possible while I still can. And there's no amount of money that's going to make me say, no, I'll just wrestle Randy Orton for the 4,000th time instead. Not knocking Randy Orton, Lord, he's one of the best wrestlers in the world too, but it's almost like, hey, I've checked those boxes. I want to check some different ones. And I really loved, I'm not sure if you had a chance to see it, but he wrote like a love letter to WWE before he wrestled for y'all. And I thought that was like the classiest, fucking coolest, most tasteful thing ever.
I'm sure that ended up on social media.
It was all over, but he just thanked WWE for the opportunity and for the memories and, for allowing them to, or him the opportunity to do all that he's been able to do. And I don't know, just class act, big Bryan Danielson fan, pumped that he's with y'all. And I
am too, man.
The other thing I wanted to ask though, how's our man Arn Anderson feeling?
He was hurting. He was obviously very embarrassed.
That's what I wanted to ask. Do you think he was hurt more physically or just embarrassed?
I thought at first he was hurt, embarrassed first, but he told me that when he fell that he did black out a little bit. So he was hurting. So it brings up a good thing that I've brought up to the company now, that we need 2 sets of stairs instead of 1 to get to the ring. It's a small thing, but the good news is I think we didn't focus on it. He kind of fell and you saw it in the corner of the screen. I think we reacted to it a little bit, but that was it. The angle happened right afterwards. So it wasn't a big part of what happened in that. So
if it was WWE, they would have shown the replay 42 times.
Yeah. So
because that's just what they do. Because Vince is sophomoric, and a few years ago when
Yeah.
Titus O'Neil was running down for the world's greatest Royal Rumble or whatever they called it over in Saudi, he tripped and slid under the ring on his way to the ring. And boy, they replayed it every kind of way. And I'm sure they would have did that for Arn, but
Yeah.
I know when you first saw it, I think you thought it was funny, and I was like, "Hey, that ain't that funny."
Yeah.
Um,
Here's what I thought was funny, because not the fall, but him trying to get around that ring post. I always give him, a hard time because,
his
like
derby,
his derby,
yeah.
as he would say. And I was thinking in my mind, I said, man, he can't get that derby around the ring post. Oh shit, he fell. That's what I'm thinking in my mind. So, my original thing was seeing him get around the ring post. It was funny because he and I are friends, but I called him the very next day and we talked. He's going to be okay. He's going to be fine.
Well, we know he's going to be okay because you and I know he's feeling better thanks to Feels. And Tony, we've talked a lot about 1986, and of course that's what we're going to do today. We're going to be watching season 2, episode 39 from October 4th, 1986. And Magnum T.A., unfortunately, his life is going to change just 10 days after this airs.
Yeah.
And I kind of forgot the date. I had mistakenly remembered it as being just a few days after this. But this is our next to last World Championship Wrestling episode with Magnum before the accident.
Right.
It's just hard to imagine that we've had this much fun in 1986, and just week after week, nearly every week, we have been blown away by his promos. And he's just been Goldberging motherfuckers. Just, he has these squash matches on the show here that we're watching, and they last just a handful of seconds and they're over with the belly to back. But then we would go and have footage from not a studio show, but an arena. And man, when he would do a run in with Dusty, good Lord, the place went, as Pat Patterson would say, banana. He really is at the peak of his career. And as the legend goes, the original plan was him to face Ric Flair for the world title at Starrcade. And it's all going to change in just 10 days.
It's a tragedy on many levels, because of what he could do in the ring, but he's a good guy. Magnum and I still do stay in touch with each other on a regular basis, mostly texting. He has been able to move on with his life. Obviously, it happened a long time ago, and I remember after the accident, he told me that he was laying on his back, and he knew that his life was changing because he knew that what had happened. Kind of. I mean, he was had a lot of painkillers in him, and he was immobile, and he said, I was just laying on my back, and I was watching this small TV screen that they had for me right in front of my face. And he said, I couldn't move left or right. I just had to stare at that TV screen the entire time. And I'm watching TV and I'm watching the programs that are on, thinking about my life. And he said it was I just decided that I was going to try to make the best of my life, which I think he did. He went on to, and I know this show is not about Magnum. I know we can talk about him a little bit more down the road here, but he became an assistant booker for Dusty. He always had a great mind for the business, but he was a friend, and it did change things around on what is, and I guess a lot of people use the word arguably, but I don't think it's any argue to this. What was the best year ever for Jim Crockett Promotions, despite what happened to their number one star, number one babyface. We mentioned turning Nikita babyface because of it. There's been some talk, some good idea, bad idea. He went from this super heel to this not so super babyface. But what do you do in that case, right? You got to do something. But it was, it's funny. We've been talking about New York City and the Arthur Ashe Stadium, and now we're talking about Magnum, and just the emotions that I've had in this business throughout the years have uh, been something. Makes me think of my own career. When you think about Magnum, you think about, I think you think about your life, and you think about how fragile life is, and how your life could change on a dime. And uh, he and I are the same age.
Yeah.
And so, and Magnum and I talked a lot before this happened. We would have in-depth conversations um, about women, about the business. So I missed those talks after the accident, because he was a good conversationalist. But yeah, it's coming up. It's coming up, and the Night of the Skywalkers coming up, with Jim Cornette plunging off the scaffold, so to speak, blowing out his knee. Uh, yeah, good stuff. What a
Well,
downer, man.
it is a downer.
Yeah.
But listen, there's more good stuff on the way.
Yeah.
We should also mention the story has a happy ending. He became very successful in business and life afterwards, and
Right.
obviously had a very successful marriage and still does,
Mm-hmm.
and became a big part of a very special young lady's life. And
Mm-hmm.
it does not have, maybe it wasn't the storybook ending we hoped in wrestling, but his life, Terry Allen's life, could not ever be classified as a disappointment.
Mm-mm.
So it has a happy ending, and we hope that's the best we can hope for is a long life and a happy ending. And I don't know about you, but I'm hoping that Bug lives forever.
Well,
I see Bug over your shoulder there chilling, and he didn't have
Mhm.
much to say today about the AEW show.
No, he didn't watch it.
Why not? Why didn't his mama make him watch it?
Well, let me tell you why. Because his mama doesn't watch it.
Hang on, hang on, hang on, hang on, hang on, hang on.
Yeah, Lois doesn't watch wrestling.
Hang on, hang on, hang on, hang on, hang on, hang on.
Mm.
Do you
Yeah.
pay for Lois to live,
Mm-hmm.
and she doesn't
Mm.
watch your program?
Nope.
That's almost as egregious as Dave Silva. Did you know that? Dave Silva, who makes the graphics for our show,
Uh-huh.
who takes care of his wife and feeds his little niños
Mm.
with the things we say and do here on the show,
Mm-hmm.
doesn't actually watch or listen to our show.
Wow.
And when I press him, he says, I'm too busy. I got all this work you're making me do. I don't have time. And then he'll casually mention, so, hey, Hawkins and Ryder the other day on their podcast, they were saying, and I will be at my desk and turn around and say, what did you say? Because he makes sure he listens to the Figure podcast that our friend Matt Cardona and Brian Myers to. But he ain't listening to me or you.
Yeah. Well, hey, here's your project, not mine. You brought him to Alabama. I didn't. But I did bring Lois into my house.
And neither one of us can make our bitches watch the show.
Hey, she said to me the other day, I had talked to her about coming to a wrestling match. I just kind of casually, she said, I don't go to wrestling matches. I don't want to sit in the back in the wrestling matches. So she had said that to me ever since I returned to AEW. Then the other day she said, you know what? I might go with you to a show. And I stopped and I said, did you just listen to what you said? Do you hear what's coming out of your mouth? She said, yeah, I said, well, guess what? You're not invited, because we've gone through that so many times. So, but anyway, the fact is that you can't always depend on your wife going to a wrestling show with you. but you can always depend on your best friend. And that's what Bug is to me. I do need to say that the next time you and I talk,
Yeah.
I'm going to reveal my Bug tattoo right here on the video version of What Happened When.
My goodness.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
and it's because, and Lois told me, she said, you shouldn't get a tattoo because you know what they say about guys who get tattoos of girls. Once they get a tattoo of their arm, the girl they fall in love with, then that girl leaves them. And I said, Bug's not going to go anywhere for a long time. Why? Because we feed him the right food. And that's solid gold. It's what we feed Bug. And because that's, yeah, what's that?
Tell us about it.
Well, that's all he eats. I mean, that's what he loves. Even though she obviously doesn't approve being backstage for wrestling. But, you know, that's okay because backstage I've got Rebel. I've got Serena Deeb's big friend of mine now. Britt, not as much as she used to be because she's on a leash. Adam won't let her talk to me that much anymore. But anyway, I digress.
Is he going to whip your ass, you think?
Who, Adam Cole?
Yeah.
He's 2'0".
Bold move, Cotton.
Yeah. Boom. Boom. That's a pretty cool thing, though, isn't it? When he comes out and does that.
Is that what you say when you're hanging out with her at the right time?
I should go, boom. Tony Schiavone, baby. That's what I should do. But if I would, if I would squat like that and do that, I couldn't get up from a squat. I'd be stuck there. They'd have to roll me out.
Oh, I thought just when you were hovering over, that's what you do.
I don't hover. I don't hover. I don't hover.
Okay.
Okay. I don't hover. I don't hover. I need to be careful what I say because you always take things out of context with me.
How?
Well, because I talk about my friendship with Britt and you say hover. See, that's out of context. I don't hover. I don't. Now, Rebel.
I don't want to even talk about the photos that you've sent me this week of you and her.
Rebel.
Does anybody else, has anybody else seen that picture?
No.
My goodness, Tony.
Let me just say that the pictures.
Delete that out of your phone. If that ever gets out, y'all are in trouble.
Can I say this about the photo? Yes, I'm going to say this about the photos. She suggested those photos.
I'm just saying you are going to get fucking divorced. You should just go ahead and delete it.
First of all, just let everybody out there know that they're not risque photos.
Why are you walking it back now?
Because there's nothing inappropriate done in these photos. Nothing. It's just two friends hanging out in an Italian restaurant. That's all.
Okay.
And, okay.
Okay.
Why are you walking it back now?
Well, you can't with chest puffed out, beaming with pride, send them to me and Silva, and then less than 48 hours later, tuck that dick.
Oh God. I send those pictures to you guys because I know how much you guys love her. And I think it's here. I got two of my good friends who just love Rebel as a person. And she's, such a big part of ad-free shows and is a great person, as you know, and did a great job with the karaoke and so much fun. I take those pictures just to say, nah, 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 nah. I'm having dinner with her. Which we do. She and I have dinner. We try to have dinner every Tuesday together, and we go out as a group. Okay, a group. It's me and a bunch of girls. They go out to dinner.
Let's talk about the fact that there was a photo of you and Brett
no.
online and Adam Cole posted it and then posted your zoomed in facial expression as you had your hands and body pressed against his lady. You know, I mean, I think you're gonna get one of them Panama City flip joints on you.
Oh,
It's gonna be bad.
I've got to call it that. I'm going to say, there's a Panama City flip joint. I've got to remember that.
It's gonna be bad.
Oh, he has been one of the delights of this, of what's been going on, because he's such a good guy. He's good. Really, it's, I had told him this, on a FaceTime call, quite a while ago, that I'll kick his ass in video games, just trying to be a smart ass, because I play video games, but nothing like what he does. But it's been a good part. Adding him to the elite's been very good, very well done. And let me change directions here a little bit.
Oh God.
I really, when I first saw Don Callis,
Yep.
I saw him as,
Carney piece of shit.
well, okay, Cyrus the Virus, right, on ECW shows.
Yeah.
And I remember calling him Don Calais and having a good time with it. I really, really enjoy working with him. I think he's a very good, and I go back to before he became Kenny Omega's manager and turned heel, when he came out and helped us to commentate, and we were heading towards that angle. I thought he was a very good commentator.
Yeah.
A good voice.
He's underrated. He's good at
yes.
everything he does.
Yeah. So I've got a lot of time for Don Callis. I really do. I have a lot of fun with him backstage. So I never thought I'd say that about Cyrus fucking Virus.
Well, that was a character. You hated the character. That means he's doing a good job.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And the good news is that, when you go back and look at ECW stuff, he has kept his figure. Not everybody has.
His figure.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck is wrong with you? Hey, so what's interesting to me, go ahead. You're going to bury somebody. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, unlike Paul Heyman, who, continues to suck on an air hose and blow up.
Why are you doing that? Why are you mean to people?
I'm just making a comment that he just.
So what you're saying is you watch SmackDown every week?
No, I do not.
Then how are you able to comment on what he looks like or doesn't look like?
I see pictures.
Oh, really? I didn't know you were a big social media guy.
I'm not.
I mean, because you won't promote our shit. I guess you get on social media not to promote our shit or AEW shit, just to type in Paul Heyman, see if you can't get a look. Fucking weirdo. Hey, can I tell you something else that's kind of weird?
Blimp. Blowfish. Go ahead.
Did you know Cassio Kid has he's become a Tony Schiavone stan? Are you familiar with the term stan?
STAN or STAND or T or what?
STAN.
Tony Schiavone stan.
Yeah. Let me explain. He's taken his Tony Schiavone fandom, shall we say, to the next level.
Oh boy, that sounds creepy to me.
It is. It's bad.
Mm-hmm.
He went to the middle of the mall, Tony. He went to
now I know where you're going with this.
He went to Claire's.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's got 2. That's right. TWO. He has 2. Can't believe this is real. Pierced ears. Why are you encouraging that? Why are you clapping for that?
Because I think you need to be your own person. I need to think that sometimes you say, it's like I'm doing when I'm getting the bug tattoo. I'm saying, fuck it. That's what I'm doing. Had a discussion with Tommy End.
Wait, hang on. Are we glossing over the pierced ears?
No, I'm just going to insert this. I had a discussion with Tommy End, who, as we all know, is covered with tattoos.
All right.
And
You were not talking to Tommy Yen. You were talking to Malachi Black.
Malachi Black. I was talking to Malachi Black, and he told me, he said, you need to be different. You need to do something, be your own person, do something unexpected. And I went, hell yeah.
Now,
You're
did
right.
you lean out? Did you put your head next to his head and say, Tommy, that's good advice. Now, go do something with your life, you little bitch. You've got to start doing that to people in AEW. Don't do it to Adam Cole. Don't you do it.
First thing in catering in Philadelphia. Yeah. Oh, shameless plug. The pre-sale, you can order Butts and Seats, the Tony Schiavone story at buttsandseatscomic.com.
Tony, how long does it take to make a fucking comic book? Can I just ask?
I don't know. Ask Dirk Manning. I don't know.
Just so you know, I started building a house when you started promoting this. We done moved in. Y'all can't put together 8 drawings and staple them in the time we have erected a home from the dirt.
Talk to Gimmick Attorney. He's a catalyst in all this. I do need to let you know that I'll be going to the New York Comic Con coming up October 7th, 8th, and 9th, and 10th.
I know somebody who won't be.
Ooh.
Nothing. Hey, are we going to talk about Cassio's middle of the mall shit?
Yeah, I think it's great. And I think he needs to, I went to a mall recently and looked at diamond earrings.
Oh, I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. And as I'm looking at the counter, I'm looking at the case. You know what this is no lie. As I'm going to look in the case and trying to peek around to see how much they cost, because they kind of tuck the price underneath these things. But sometimes you can see them. You know what I'm seeing as I'm doing that?
What?
I'm seeing a reflection of your smug fucking face looking back at me talking about Claire's. And I'm thinking, I'm going to buy some diamond fucking earrings to shut that motherfucker up. That's what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about you shopping for earrings.
Well, hypothetically, if that happens, you better be buying it from Steven Singer, you motherfucker.
Oh yeah, I will. But I just
he would hook you up too, and everybody knows you're a cheap fuck. Like I bet when you're sending me these pictures of you and Rebel, when they say 1 check or 2, you go Chuck Woolery, bitch, 2 and 2. I ain't paying for this bitch's spaghetti. Let her buy her own skitty. I nailed it, didn't I?
I ain't paying for this bitch's skitty.
You know, we're supposed to be talking about 1986 wrestling. We're like a fucking hour in almost.
Yeah, no. We're having too much fun.
I don't think you're giving me enough on Cassio Kid.
Okay.
Going to Claire's. Here's the thing. You've started a whole thing because now I can't believe this is real.
Yeah.
But Pondwater Dave saw the pictures.
Oh no.
And he said, my daddy wouldn't have let me get earrings. He'd be rolling over in his grave.
Damn straight. Get him, Dave.
Said, okay. He said, so I'm going to do something different that daddy wouldn't know about. Yeah. Pondwater Dave told me he's going to pierce his taint.
Stop it.
How do you even do that? Stop. Don't Google it. I'll tell you that. I had to Google it and I wish I wouldn't have.
Okay. I want to inspire all of our gentlemen listening to our podcast to go out and get your ears pierced.
No,
get them both. I set the standard. Cassio's followed suit, and I'm so proud of him. Now, as a listener, as a low-key big hog, or as a top guy on ad-free shows, I encourage you to go out. It doesn't cost much to go out like Claire's or somewhere in the middle of the mall, one of those kiosks they have, and it's real simple. They put the earring in a gun, and they go, and that's it. That's it. It's so freaking easy. So be like me, be like Castillo. Let's do it. Let's have Dave Silva do it.
Dave Silva can't do it. I do have the most embarrassing Dave Silva story of all time, if you'd like to hear it.
I'd like to hear it, but why can't I? Okay, go ahead. I need Silva to pierce his ears. I need Dave Hancock to pierce his ears.
Dave Hancock will not do that. Just so you know.
Come on, Dave.
It would require effort, and he ain't about that in life.
Okay.
No, just kidding. So, Dave Silva, in the last 12 months or so, I encouraged him to get a CPAP machine.
Yeah.
Because you'd be in the middle of having a conversation with Dave, and you remember this, and he just fall asleep on you.
Right.
And it's because he wasn't sleeping at all at night.
Right.
So now he's sleeping better than ever.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been trying to convince my dad that he needs to use his. My dad was prescribed one years ago and doesn't use it. And I'm like, Dad, that's not good, blah, blah, blah. So we're trying to pile on.
Yeah.
And Dave Silva says, well, it ain't all positive, Mr. Larry. And I look at Dave like, what are you doing? Why would you say that to him? We're trying to sell him on this to extend his life. And he's like, I'm just going to tell you. The other day, I put mine on. I laid down on my left side. Hose is running behind me to the machine on the nightstand. And before I fell asleep, I farted. And Dad's like, yeah. Well, that machine sucked the air. That's what it does. I wound up sucking my own sick fart. So I'm trying to fall asleep, and now I've got my own fart particles up my nose with forced air. I was forced to suck my own fart, Mr. Larry. And Dad's like, that's it. I'm never doing this. I don't want any part of that. Because when I fart right now, it doesn't go up my own nose. I just fire it out the other way and it's gone. But the idea that it circulates back into my own nostrils, that's a rib on me.
Oh, good God.
Silva sucks his own farts is a new t-shirt available now at boxofgimmicks.com.
T-shirt. Oh, God.
Get that and your Casio Kid earring design, middle of the mall-ish, and Pond Water Dave's taint piercing shirt over at can you imagine?
What's great about all this is these are true stories.
Buddy, I have the craziest true story that I can't tell on air about me, Casio, and Silva on a random Wednesday a few weeks ago. Maybe we'll do it on Patreon. Because, by the way, we do have 2 big bonus episodes coming up at patreon.com/WHW Monday. As a matter of fact, that's where I'll tell the story.
Okay.
And with that in mind, I think we filibustered enough. We just passed the 1 hour mark. It's time for us to talk about why we're actually here. You and I didn't say we were just going to get up and catch up and fellowship. And I'm glad we do, because everybody knows that we're friends, but I have to remind people that Tony only comes around for paid appearances. You see, it's not like you and I are going to have an hour-long conversation if there wasn't money changing hands. So,
right. If it wasn't for money, I don't even know if I'd talk to you.
Right. No, I get that. And thankfully, if you want to talk to Tony, he'll take your money too over at patreon.com/WHW Monday.
We have developed a close-knit friendship with people over at ad-free shows and patreon.com/WHW Monday.
So wait, hang on. You're saying like you and Adam DeMoy, y'all are big boys.
Well, listen, I consider Adam DeMoy one of my friends, and good thing for Patreon and ad-free shows, because Adam DeMoy, because of his personality, wouldn't have any friends. And he now he's a part of friendship. I mean, you can just rattle off some names here. Frank Bruno, friend of ours. Mark Nelson, friend of ours. This is how we met Paul Bromwell, right?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Paul's on your shit list now. Wow. And I know I'm Megan Nelson. Just great friends of mine. And hey, Steph Chesney. Sorry, Steph. I shouldn't have started this list because somebody now is going to say, hey, what about me? You didn't mention all you guys and girls. We're friends. Okay. Thank you for your money. What have I become?
At this point, I feel like we should just show the picture of you and Rebel.
No, what have I become? Oh.
Tony, the rumor and innuendo is you've got a countdown for us, and everybody knows that we're on the Peacock, and we're watching World Championship Wrestling, and we're watching season 2, episode 39, and that it's dated October 4th, 1986, and we know to mute it, and we know to be hovering over the play button, and we know to be ready, but we don't know what's going to be said on the countdown. Let's find out.
We're going to go out of the country for this one. Ready?
I'm ready.
Hi, Slapdicks. David Diamond here from Ad Free Shows. Don't like tooting my own horn, but toot, toot. Here is your countdown. 3, 2, 1, play.
Don't pitch your taint.
World Championship Wrestling, bringing you great wrestling.
Panama City Clip joints.
NWA, National Wrestling Alliance.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to World Championship Wrestling. David Crockett, Tony Schiavone, Tony. We've got them here, the Minnesota Wrecking Crew.
And you know, when the Minnesota Wrecking Crew's around, they're looking for the World Tag Team title. And we're with Ole and Arn Anderson right now.
Tony Schiavone, when I first became associated with my partner, The Rock, a lot of people said, maybe this guy's a little too young. He's unproven. Maybe when he comes out here on national television and he flaps his yap, maybe we should just take it with a grain of salt. But as you can see over the past couple of years, when I tell you something, my friend, it's going to happen. It comes from being raised around The Rock, Gene Anderson, Ric Flair, my cousin. You see, the Four Horsemen is not just an idea. It's a theme, it's a theory, it's a state of being, it's a state of mind. In order to qualify as one of the Four Horsemen, you got to be able to back up what you say. It's just like this individual standing in the ring. On one particular night, I told Magnum T.A, don't get caught alone, Magnum. Everybody went, give me this right here. You know what I'm saying? Well, Magnum knows exactly what happened to him. You take the hit list. Sam Houston, Magnum T.A, Dusty Rhodes, Rock and Roll Express, Ron Garvin. What happened to them all when I made a threat? It all came true. Well, Rhodes, The Rock made a threat. He said, 86, you're out of here. Well, Rhodes, it's just like telling you an ant can pull a freight train. Hook it up. And rock and roll, when we tell you we're coming after the world tag titles, that the Minnesota Wrecking Crew are by far the finest wrestling machine on the face of the earth, you better believe it, because I told you so.
Ole and Arn Anderson, the Minnesota Wrecking Crew on the program today. Tim Horner, Nature Boy Ric Flair, many other top stars in the world of wrestling. Let's go to the ring right now.
All right, in the ring.
If I was going to sell this show to the listeners at home, or the viewers at home, as it were, I think I'd do the same thing you did. I'd say, all the great stars of professional wrestling are here, like Tim Horner and Ric Flair.
Well, you got to put people over, Conrad. You like my Arn Anderson glasses I put on here during his promo?
Oh, I wish I had mine in here.
Belly to belly. There you
It's
go.
over with. He Goldberged his ass.
Yeah.
Look at Hebner.
That may have been Hebner as the referee. This may be Magnum's last TV match.
Oh wow, yeah, I didn't think about that.
With Paul Jones, a member of the Army, Baron Von Rashke.
You know, everybody said, I bet Paul Jones is down because Manny Fernandez hadn't accepted the money. Well, I'm never down because I know that Manny Fernandez is not an idiot. And I know something else. Everybody's asking me, says, how in the world did you get Rick Rude to come here? Well, let me tell you something. A lot of people have tried, but a lot of people are not number one Paul Jones. And let me tell you something else. Everybody's trying to cause destruction within the Army. Well, the Army is like this, and they're going to stay like this. I'm so proud of my men, and my men are proud of me. And here's an example right here. Here's a man that would do anything for number one Paul Jones.
This is Ricky. The Army is a united front. We fit together like the cogs of a fine watch, and all the pieces fit to work perfectly under the leadership of Herr Paul Jones, a genius manager, glorious victory after victory. He is leading us to united on all fronts. And I tell you this, Paul Jones has promised me a chance at the title, the World Television title from Dusty Rhodes. And that's exactly, and I know it's true because you promised it, that's exactly what is going to happen. Make no mistake, Herr Dusty Rhodes, we're coming and we're going to take your World TV title. And that's all the people need to know.
Paul Jones, Baron Von Rashke. Fans, we're coming back right after this time.
Can you imagine showing that clip to a non-wrestling fan of him doing that silly voice and then you stepping in like you're here to sell us term life insurance? Fans will be right back.
Hey, listen, my hair looked good
I'd argue
in this
that.
in this episode. Look at this. Look at this hair.
The Boogie Man Vaya.
You know, Tony Schiavone, I could come out here and talk about shaving Paul Jones's hairdo, but I'm not. I could come out here and talk about my blood, Willie, the Ragin Bull, going over to Paul Jones's side, but I'm not. What I'm going to do today is tell the people a funny story, a true funny story that happened last week. Last week I was in Missouri. It was sold out, Jack. The joint was sold out. When I got in the ring, I looked around and I see way up high, up there in the balcony, I spotted her. Who was it, you think?
I don't know. Who was it?
Who? Oh, come on, Daddy. Get real, baby. It was, you know who it was? Miss Dolly Pottins. Dolly Pottins was up there, baby. And I says, man, I'm going to have to bring her back down here close to the Boogie Woogie Man. She came to see the Boogie Man. So what I did, I knocked my dude out, my opponent out cold, and I went upstairs, and I went in the balcony. And Tony, it was the damnedest thing I ever seen. It wasn't Dolly Pottins. You know who it was?
Who was it, Jimmy?
It was two bald-headed men sitting real close together. Yeah.
Let's go to the ring.
And then you got to be deadpan. So, by the way, the Ragin Bull has just turned his back on Boogie Woogie. They're now enemies.
Yep.
We see Teddy Long ringside to carry back Manny's headband. Anyway, I hate this man so much. He turned his back on me. I know he's 8 feet from me, but I'm going to tell a titty joke.
I know. I don't get that one. I don't know.
Schiavone.
Hey, so our last show, Paul had offered Manny Fernandez to turn, but we haven't seen it yet. We haven't seen the angle. We haven't seen him turn heel.
I assume it happened on the syndicated show or something.
Yeah, right. That's what it had to happen. in this day and age, we would obviously had talked about it or shown the angle before he'd come out and wrestle, wouldn't we?
Oh, there's that flying burrito.
Hooks the leg and puts Samani down on the mat for the pin.
A great win for the Ragin Bull here with Superstar. Bill Dundee, the Nature Boy.
Let's do a counter.
Hey, Tony Schiavone, let me ask y'all a question. Let me ask all you Yanks out there a question. What is the hottest movie played in the US of A today? What is it, Tony Schiavone? I'll tell you what it is. It's Crocodile Dundee, Daddy, made after my uncle in the outback on Australia. You think I'm lying? You pick up any newspaper, and they'll be talking about Crocodile Dundee. And that's my family, Daddy. We're the meanest men in Australia, and little Willie come to the USA. And you know what I'm going to take all the wrath out on? Michael Sam Houston. If you think what you started with this man, the real Nature Boy, is going to go unsaid, Daddy, you are wrong. So, Sam Houston, you will better listen to what I'm saying. You will better eat, sleep, and breathe wrestling and learn all you know about it. Because when this guy gets you, the one and only Nature Boy, he's taking you out, punk. And we don't care where it is. Thrill all the girls, Budro. Talk to him.
Hey, you know what, Tony Schiavone? I don't care whether Superstar and the Nature Boy go, baby. We get millions of letters wanting to know. Superstar and Nature Boy, when are y'all going to come to our town? And in other words, you want to know why the Nature Boy's back in town? Because I got sick and tired when I took some time off for an attitude adjustment. I got sick and tired of going to my mailbox and the mailman pulling up and I had to take a wheelbarrow and go back to the house with it. The millions of letters want to know when the real Nature Boy coming back on the scene. I'm back, baby, and that's all I got to say.
That's right. So, Tony Schiavone, just like I said, Daddy, if you don't believe me, they're talking all about the Dundees all over the world.
Fans, let's go back to the ring.
So I love the working in Crocodile Dundee because obviously that's his gimmick last name. It's great stuff. But
4 daddies.
We got 4 daddies, and we were blessed with 2 babies.
And a buddy. But a buddy.
And a Boudreaux.
Oh.
I'm a big fan of the Brother Jack Daddy, but we forgot to include baby, and then we had 2 babies there, so we may need to start doing a baby counter as well as a daddy counter, and a Jack counter, and a brother counter, Brother Jack Daddy. And of course, Hogan occasionally, he was a real innovator. He'd break out the dudes.
Yeah, you know what? I think it's because of the show. I think it's because of you. I usually, when I see people, like when I'm parking the car and at the airport and I'd see somebody helping me with my bags or whatever, I'll say, thanks, buddy. But now I've been saying, thanks, brother.
Oh, God.
I have been saying, how you doing, brother? A lot.
You're back in wrestling.
Yeah.
Your brother, you are Brother Jack Daddy now.
And I caught myself saying that the other day, and I'm thinking, I need to slow down here. I need to rethink it.
Yeah, you're a Brother Jack Daddy, baby.
Hey, Tim Horner, very underrated wrestler. Would you agree?
I don't care about Tim Horner.
Okay.
So the thing is, I gotta say this full sentence, dude. You're a Brother Jack Daddy, baby.
White light. I don't care.
Seriously, I mean, unless he's got a girlfriend you're going to start hanging out with on the regular.
Oh.
Or if you're going to go recreate, Lady and the Tramp with his wife.
Wow.
What's your favorite Tim Horner match?
I don't know. He and Brad Armstrong had some great tag team matches.
Really? What town was that? What was the date on that?
I don't know. Oh, like the hair.
The Rock and Roll Express.
Hey, now, Tony, the Andersons, they're hot on the Rock and Roll Express as well because we are the NWA World Tag Team Champions. And what they want, Tony, they want to take these titles away from Rock and Roll Express. And let me tell you something, Ole Arn Anderson, it's been a long, hard road for Rock and Roll Express. We plan on keeping these titles for a long, long time. So, guys, come out and take your best shot, baby, because we are, like I said, the new NWA World Tag Team Champions. Tony, I'd like to bring in a good friend of mine, Tim Horner. Come here, Tim.
Okay, Jim Horner, White Lightning, good to see you back on World Championship Wrestling.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. You know, it's a pleasure to be back on the Superstation. It's a pleasure to be with Jim Crockett Promotions, the #1 wrestling organization in the world. And I'm happy to be here, and I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, Jim Horner with us right here on World Championship Wrestling. Let's go to the ring.
We've had some great interviews here, haven't we, in this show?
First of all, it's cool to see the blue tag team titles. You know, we've seen the other tag team belts for most of 1986. And ta-da, I think, is that the first time we've seen the blue ones this year?
It may have been.
I think that's the debut of the blue NWA tag team titles, which I have behind me here. And I think those are more synonymous with my fandom and Jim Crockett than the original style that we just saw. But that Tim Horner interview, I take it all back. I'm a big Tim Horner fan, and I can't wait to see more interviews from him. That was great stuff.
I think Jim Cornette said one time, I won't get this right, but only as Jim Cornette could say it. Tim Horner interviews is like a guilty man trying to pretend he's innocent or something. Tim wasn't good interviews. He was just Tim Horner.
I bet the line was, if Tim Horner were on trial for being a good pro, for being good on interviews, he'd be found not guilty.
Something like that. I don't know. I don't know if you noticed this or not, but as we were talking, and as I pitched to the ring, they went to a camera shot of a camera that was pointing kind of at the ceiling. It was like the cameraman was asleep. But since we're live to tape, they don't edit that out. It's amazing all the editing and work that's done to put out a show now, a tape show. And I know because I'm involved in it, and seeing the raw stuff that's going on right here, right now. Oh, by the way, I was looking ahead on some of the shows we got coming up.
Yeah.
And I was talking about how bad the television show was for the Central States TV show, which I guess was based out of Kansas City.
Yeah.
We're going to see some footage from a Central States TV show.
Wow.
And it just, for someone like me who's worked in production for a long time, it just blows my mind that show would even air on TV. Anyway, we'll cross that bridge or burn that bridge when we get to it. Tully and Arn and Ole here are being pretty aggressive, aren't they?
Beating the fuck out of these guys.
Yes, they are.
What do you think they're thinking right here?
I think they're thinking, well, if I wouldn't have told Vince to kiss my ass and Lynn to kiss my ass, then I would probably be making some money right now. Fuck, I'll make a tag. Yep. Now, that's for falling off the fucking ring. How about that? That's for what happened to me on Dynamite. Look, you know, one thing that my son Brock and I don't have in common, I was much fatter at Brock's age than he is. That's right. I was a fat, bald motherfucker. I would throw him back into the ring. Oh, man, I look at JJ and all of a sudden my thought process ended.
You get very sleepy. Very sleepy. Ooh.
It is hard for me. It is difficult for me to see. Maybe it's not difficult for me, but when I see, look at him stepping on the legs. When I see Arn and Tully now, and then we go back and look about how great they were back then. It's just, we all age, buddy. Look at this Magic Killer. Oh, a double gourd buster. What? Wonder why we had Hebner's referee here. This is the first time Hebner's referee on TV for us.
And that's all she wrote. Gourd Buster Jones and the Horsemen ride again.
Buster Jones.
Or what was it called? A Panama City flip joint.
Oh, here we go.
Okay, fans, Glad to have you back with us right now on World Championship Wrestling. None other than the World TV Champion, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes.
Sort of, you know, going around the world, traveling around, defending the world television champion throughout this country and ever native land and everything is a big show for Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream. World Heavyweight Wrestling Champion, different occasions. World's Tag Team Champion, different occasions. And once again, World's Television Champion. So let's get right down to business, Ole Anderson. The four horsemen, if you will, know one thing is 86, you're going to take me out. I'm going to take you out. We know the pain, blues, and agony that goes down between us two. And don't you be pointing me, sucker. Who you calling sucker? You know, right here, two prime examples. Paul Jones, Baron Von Rashke, and Pistol Pez Wanley. If they want some of it, they can come and get it, baby. Who you calling sucker?
Okay. Let's go to the ring.
I love that he was literally yelling at Shaska.
Yeah, I do too.
Yes, he
I don't think you. I don't know. I picked up on it. I'm sure not. Most people didn't. But Dusty had an East Mecklenburg wrestling shirt on.
Yeah,
And East Mecklenburg is where Dustin went to high school.
it's Charlotte.
Yeah, in Charlotte. It's East Mecklenburg, or as they call East Meck, and that's where that's where Dustin went to high school. So I have a feeling that Dustin was probably wrestling at this time in high school. Would that have been about right in '86? Yeah.
Yeah, we saw him, during the Great American Bash driving the cart.
Right. So he would have been a wrestler. Yeah, there you go. So that's where that shirt is from. And here's our man, buddy. Sucker.
It's just the best.
You know what? I don't think they had it, but there should have been a program with he and Dusty. It'd have been fucking phenomenal for the TV
There
title.
should have been a program with him and everyone.
Yeah. No, you're right. They
I
missed the boat on
want to see Shaska and Bryan Danielson next week.
Yeah. There's an old school. There's a dream match for you for a video game.
Well, I'm in.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever play wrestling video games?
Yeah, of course.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know you did anything cool.
No, as a kid, I played all that, and then when I grew up and had bills, businesses and whatnot, I was like, oh man, I gotta put it up with this up, down, left, right, A, B, 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 A bullshit,
Yeah. Got it.
But no, I even when I quit playing regular video games, I kept playing NCAA football and Madden. And then I probably played my last Madden game in 2012.
Okay.
I think the last time I played a video game was 2012.
I probably should. I think I've got Madden 2020. I should probably challenge some people and play Madden.
Well, next time you're over, I have all the game systems downstairs. So like as soon as those new Xbox and PlayStations came out, I got them the same week because I wanted.
Did you really?
When the kids come over, I want everybody to.
Yeah.
Hey, we got what you want. We'll go have fun.
I've said it before, and I'll say it a million times, and I'm sincere about this. If you don't have fun at the Con Radisson, something's wrong with you.
You're not trying.
Yeah, because it is the most welcoming house I've ever been in my life.
Well, that's nice. I appreciate you saying that.
Oh, by the way, is the other house ready?
Yeah, they're not quite yet. They're staying on the floors, and we're getting close.
Okay, good. I can't wait because I'm going to go stay there for a little while.
She picked out floor stain this week, and they did all the ceilings and all the fireplaces and all the tile and all that stuff's happening. But floor stain was apparently a big deal. And of course, I'm colorblind as fuck. And she sent me 5, and she's like, "What do you like?" I'm like, "They look the fucking same. Just whatever you want, son. I don't care." Oh, here we go.
Now, World Championship Wrestling, and here is Jim Cornette. What's up?
I just tore this up to CNN Newswire, Dateline Chicago. Road Warrior Hawk was arrested today for stealing a woman's purse in a suburb of Chicago. Road warrior Animal was picked up for selling pencils on a street corner without a license. And Precious Paul Ellers was severely injured, being hit by a rainbow bread truck while he was in an unemployment line. And that's the Road Warriors. And you know what destroyed them? The Midnight Express. And you know what we did when we did that? We proved that you don't have to be big to be bad, because you see, the Midnight Express, like I've said before, the perfect ingredients to make a successful tag team, and one of those is that the Midnight Express flies higher than any tag team in professional wrestling. When Beautiful Bobby comes off those top ropes, when Loverboy Dennis is doing those flying suplexes, those clotheslines, all those moves, the fact of the matter is, when these men come off the ropes, when these men are flying around the ring, they don't have to be big to be bad, because they strike like lightning. And lightning, by the way, is going to strike you, Rock and Roll Express, because like I've said before, those are our World Tag Team belts. You're a couple of punks, a couple of snotty-nosed punks at that. I think you're still wet behind the ears. I think I could whip you myself, but I'm going to let my boys do it, and I'm going to let them prove who the real tag team champions of the world are. Lightning's going to strike you, Rock and Roll Express. Maybe, just maybe, when you least expect it, but it's going to come down on you, and that's going to be it for you as World Tag Team Champions. And then nobody's going to be screaming rock and roll anymore. Nobody's going to be screaming for you anymore, Punky Morton, or you, Hoot Gibson, because these men are going to replace you, and they're going to dominate tag team wrestling forever and a day. Loverboy Dennis and Beautiful Bobby, the Midnight Express.
Punky and Hoot. I think that's the first time that's been said on air, is it?
Yes, it is. I was thinking the same thing, man. He's a little inside baseball there.
Do you have a nickname?
Most people call me Mr. Schiavone.
Oh, so your nickname is Mr. This is
sometimes,
riveting.
Sometimes, me and TK will be in the same room and somebody will say Tony, and I'll look up and they're obviously talking to him and not me. And I'll say, that's okay. Just call me Mr. Schiavone to keep the separation there.
I thought you said shit like TK.
Tony, that's what we
even you're like, so I was talking to Tony. I mean, TK.
Yeah. That's
what other fucking Tony do we think you're talking to? Danza?
Could have been talking to myself. I don't know.
Well,
okay.
You do many times, I'm sure.
Tony,
Should I really recreate this scene from Lady and the Tramp with this woman and have this stranger take a picture? Tony, that's a good idea. I'm going to do it.
That wasn't the bad idea, taking that picture. The bad idea was sending it to your fucking ass.
The bad idea is putting on a CPAP mask and farting directly into it.
Hey, Mr. Thompson needs to get a CPAP.
Oh, no, I agree. Will you call him and tell him?
Yeah, I will. Next time I'm invited over to the Conradison.
No, just call him on the telephone.
Okay.
Today.
All right, I will. Pass me his number.
And then you can be like, hey, bitch, do you know who this is? This is the ghost of Christmas future, and I'm dead because I didn't wear a fucking CPAP. It's my understanding that your old dumbass has had one for over a year and won't fucking put it on.
And here's the kicker. I'll say, fucking Nick Saban has a CPAP.
Oh, he'd put it on right away.
Bitch.
If you told him that Roger Staubach and Tom Landry and Nick said, oh God, boy, let's go back.
Everybody out there that follows professional wrestling, what you just witnessed, you won't see anywhere else but in the National Wrestling Alliance, because guys like Eaton and Connery don't grow on trees. They are world champions. Woo! And whether I like to admit it or not, there's a lot of great athletes. And I'm throwing Dusty Rhodes' name in the hat. I'm throwing Magnums, Murdoch, Garvin, Wahoo, the Road Warriors, all guys I don't like. I don't like the rock and roll especially. But you know what? They represent the National Wrestling Alliance. And I just happen to be the world's heavyweight wrestling champion. So as I've told you before, let's put it like this. If the National Wrestling Alliance is worth $3 billion and Jim Crockett is worth $1 billion himself, not to mention his brothers and the family and the corporation, then Ric Flair who is the world champion, has got to be worth a bundle himself. And the bottom line is, if you work in the National Wrestling Alliance, you drive nice cars, you live in big houses, woo, and you style and profile. Now, let's separate the men from the boys. Some of us style and profile in $1,000 suits, $1,000 shoes, big Rolex watches, and some of us have bigger cars than others. But the bottom line is, once again, to be part of the National Wrestling Alliance, you gotta be a dude. To wrestle Ric Flair, you gotta be a dude. And I'm gonna be in Baltimore, Greensboro, Greenville, South Carolina, and I'm gonna show y'all something I take a great deal of pride in doing. Woo! And that's why I'm the greatest wrestler alive today. Woo! You got it, boys. Take it for granted, and you're going to get hurt real bad.
The world champion Ric Flair. Fans, we are coming right back.
So glad he was better at promos than tweets.
Hey, so we were talking about Cassio getting his ears pierced, and I was talking about possibly getting diamond earrings. Oh, wait a minute.
Here we go.
And here is Magnum T.A.
You know, Tony Schiavone, there's something about Jimmy Garvin that I find increasingly annoying every day. It's not the fact that he's not a great wrestler or has not enough ability. It's the fact that he's talked about for so long what he's going to do to me. And each and every time I'm ready to have a confrontation with the one and only gorgeous Jimmy Garvin, he sends his lady down, Precious, to get in my face and yak and talk to me about what a man's going to do to me when he gets his hands on me. Well, welcome the opportunity for Jimmy Garvin to get his hands on me. Believe me, I have never shirked any responsibilities or tried to get away from any competition. I'm just ready to get this thing over with because, you see, your little lady now knows that I'm not taking any more of her flack. So why don't you stand up and be a man and take care of business the way you should? Because I've got some other business out there and regain the United States heavyweight title, and I'm ready to get back to that too.
Okay, fans, let's go back to the ring.
You know what?
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, in the ring.
Yeah.
That fucker should have been in Hollywood.
Oh, for real?
Okay, something's up here.
You're going to have like a 20-second match here.
No, but here's what something's up. I think for this show's got to be out of sync for some reason.
Yeah.
Because we haven't talked about who the U.S. Tag Team Champions are.
That's
Just
right.
had the tournament. What's he doing with that belt? That was like either Wahoo or Nikita. Remember, they were going to have that unification. And just there's a lot of
I thought the unification was for the national in the U.S. Not
yes,
but that's the Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling belt.
Oh, it is? Okay. I thought he had the U.S. belt. So,
oh, here we go.
Go ahead.
Jimmy Garvin and Precious.
We heard from a very sick individual who I should call the authorities on. I should have the police department come and take that criminal to some jail where he belongs. Because the fact is, I don't know what your problem, Magnum T.A. is. I don't know if it stemmed from your childhood or I don't know what the reason is, but you laid your hands on the wrong woman this time, Pally. Nobody touches gorgeous Jimmy Garvin squeeze. I'm not going to let him get away with doing what he did to you. And like I said, did you get it from your daddy? Did your daddy beat your mommy or something? Or did your grandpa beat your grandma? You're a sick individual, Magnum. If you want me or if you want a piece of me, it's me that you mess with, not my woman. You keep your stinking, filthy hands off of her and you're going to pay. Mark my word. Get this out of my way. Mark my word. I said I was going to come here and beat up the chief, and I came here and I beat up the chief. I'm telling you, Magnum T.A., you're going to be mine. You're going to pay for what you did because you might think you're hot. You might think you're something. Dusty Rhodes might be filling you with a lot of garbage. Pally, I'm going to drain your tanks.
Okay, gorgeous Jimmy Garvin and Precious very upset about Magnum T.A. We've seen a lot here today on World Championship Wrestling. Of course, Jim Cornette, his Midnight Express, the World Heavyweight Champion Ric Flair, and many others. Fans, remind you, we'll see you here next week on World Championship Wrestling.
That's the end of the show. I want to remind everybody, we saw at the very beginning of 1986, Sam Houston win that belt that you just saw Ronnie Garvin with, the Mid-Atlantic Heavyweight Championship. That happened on January 11th. A couple of months and change later, he lost it to Black Bart.
Right.
And Ronnie Garvin won that belt on September 2nd, 1986. And he's actually going to surrender or vacate the belt at the end of the year, December 26, 1986. So Ron Garvin is the last guy to hold that title.
Wow.
We usually cover what you guys were doing here. I think we touched on this last week. This show was, again, taped a week ahead of time. It was a 1-hour episode recorded on September 28th. That night is when we would crown the United States Tag Team Champions. So we'll see them next week. The next day, you guys were in San Antonio. I'm sure we're excited to have Manny Fernandez there. He mentions it every fucking interview. No, actually, he might not have even been there because he ran 2 shows that day. You're also in Rock Hill, South Carolina on the 30th. October 1st, you had 4,800 fans in the Dorton Arena. Then it's up to Huntington, West Virginia on the 2nd. On the 3rd, you're in Hampton, Virginia at the Coliseum. On the 4th, you're in Albany. You're also in Charlotte at the Coliseum with Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes on top. And then it's time to tape a show on October 5th that will air on October 11th. And that's next week's show. We're going to open the show with a confrontation with Dick Murdoch and Ric Flair. And that's when you're going to announce that Manny Fernandez had indeed taken the money of Paul Jones and walked out on Jimmy Valiant at the tag team tournament. You're also going to plug that Robert Gibson has some broken ribs, and boy, it's going to be quite the story. But I believe, that show airs on October 11th. So yeah, that airs just a few days before Magnum goes down. So it's going to be an interesting few weeks here on the show, but I'm excited about us really getting to the home stretch of the unfortunate accident, Starrcade. A lot of good meat on the bone left here for 1986.
Yeah, I wonder, thinking about this now, first of all, when Magnum did his interview and I said he should have been in Hollywood, did you ever watch any episodes of Sons of Anarchy?
I watched them all, every one of them.
He certainly could have been cast in that show, couldn't he? I mean,
he was believable, and he wore a leather vest, and you're a fucking goof for thinking that's all it takes to be on the show.
Okay, so I thought about that, and
you think Magnum T.A. ever went to Claire's?
So I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about this angle. We all say that for Starrcade, I almost said Starrcade. For Starrcade 86, it was going to be Flair and Magnum.
Yeah.
However, we're talking now October 4th, a little bit less than 2 months before. It looks like they're building up Ric Flair and Dick Murdoch.
Well, that was never going to be. That's just house show shit.
Okay.
So they think Dick Murdoch was a headliner?
No, of course he at one time.
Yeah, but I mean here in 86.
No, of course not. But I'm just thinking that, I don't know. I'm just thinking that if in fact it was going to be Magnum and Ric Flair at Starrcade, well, I need another shot of energy drink or something. If it was going to be them at Starrcade, why not start it right now? I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking this.
Ask Jim Crockett.
I can't. So
I did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And the answer is available in Conversations with Conrad over at adfreeshows.com.
Wow.
But Tony,
what?
Next week, it's going to be a big show. We're going to find out who the U.S. Tag Team Champions are. We're going to advance some storylines. And in a couple of weeks, boy, the whole wrestling world changes with Magnum T.A. But unfortunately, it's about that time.
It is about that time, ladies and gentlemen. But before we go, we want to check in on Pondwater Dave and just make sure where he got his pierce. We are, oh gosh, Conrad was right. Dave, you shouldn't do that. And next in line is going to be Dave Hancock. Dave is going to get some. No, Dave, don't get up. And no, you won't. Dave Silva. Dave, you're next. Are you going to get your ears pierced at Claire's? He said C. I think that means yes. He is going to get. Wait a minute. What? No, I don't smell any farts at all. What are you talking about? No, I don't use my CPAP machine for that. Get out of here, you. We're desperately out of time. See you next week on What Happened When. On Wednesdays, we're on Cumulus. But on Mondays, we are on
Patron, patreon.com/WHW Monday. And of course, adfreeshows.com. Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.